In my opinion, these fragrances here are worth every bit of hype that they do receive. There are definitely some scents out there that are overrated, meaning they're talked about more often than I think they should be. Maybe they're not all that good, especially for the price point. But these, I think, offer a lot of value for relatively reasonable prices, at least in terms of today's market. The first one is actually a relatively new release. That is Coach Green, and I've told this story before, but I bought this one off of FragranceNet when it came into stock there below retail because I really wasn't excited about this release and I didn't want to pay full retail for it. So I got it. I think it was like, I don't know, $40, $45 for this, which that was a pretty good discount off of retail price. And then it sat in the box unopened for weeks. I knew it was there. I just had no desire to try it because I didn't think it was going to be all that good. And it was one of those situations, and I feel like this happens a lot with me, where I finally get around to trying it, and then I realize that it's actually pretty good. I actually really like this one. Kiwi, rosemary, bergamot, oak moss. It's very much a green scent, so it stays true to its name. Kind of think of it like a green take on the Sauvage / Coach for Men DNA. So you get some of that ambroxan, a little bit of a peppery kick, but then some green notes, a lot of aromatics in here just to kind of give it a different twist. It might not be something that is groundbreaking and super exciting and super interesting, but when you can get this one below retail price in the $40 range, it's a really versatile scent that does change things up a little bit. I think this one's actually pretty good. I think it's considerably better than Coach Blue. And honestly, if you were looking to buy, one of the Coach fragrances, I would say the best ones are Coach Platinum, which has been out for a while, and Coach Green. You can't go wrong with these. I would take these over the original. This next one is Hugo Boss The Scent Magnetic. It's got vanilla, maninka fruit, and bran in here. So very much staying true to the lineup with that maninka fruit, which is a very distinct note, and it gives it a sweet fruitiness that you don't really get in too many other scents out there. Not very many fragrances typically use that note, which is why I like this lineup so much. The bran gives it kind of like a wheat, powdery, dusty smell. You're getting some general sweetness in here, tonka bean, kind of vanilla mixture. I really like how this one came together. It could actually be one of the better Boss The Scent flankers, at least in terms of what's standing right now, because they've gone through and discontinued a lot of the older ones to obviously make room for new ones that are coming out. Like they just released an elixir, of course, which doesn't feature maninka fruit, kind of odd. But so they're going to continue to get rid of the old ones, make room for the newer ones. It's a cycle that has been going on for some time now. Private Accord, Absolute, those are great ones, but getting harder to find. I think this one is a really solid, well done release. And at least as of right now, it's one of the last standing The Scent fragrances in production that is using the maninka fruit, as they're now taking it out in elixir, and who knows if they plan to keep that note removed in future releases. I don't know, but I do think this one is really good and worth picking up. Next up, we have Aqua Deo Profondo. This is a great summertime scent, and believe it or not, now is the time to start thinking about this type of thing. I know it's only middle of February, but the warm weather is fast approaching for a lot of us, and typically you want to start getting in some of your warmer weather scents early on, because at least if you live somewhere like I do, things change at the flip of a switch. It can be cold and snowy, and then in a couple days be in the mid 60s, low 70s pretty quickly. And so, I always like to be prepared. Obviously, I'm prepared. I have way too many fragrances, but if you're building up a collection, don't be afraid to get some of your summer or spring scents early on, because you could start wearing them right away when the weather does change quickly. This one has mineral notes, a ton of aromatics like rosemary and things of the such, aquatic notes, some citrus in here. It's one of the more unique aquatic fragrances out there, and that's what I like so much about it. And above all of that, it has such a crisp, refreshing, bright, and clean smell to it that is different than a lot of the other scents out there on the market as well. This one gets talked about a lot, right? Profondo. It's also an Aqua Deo, and pretty much any Aqua Deo flanker is going to be getting noticed quite a bit. but there's a reason. I mean, this one really is well done and it's worth picking up. Next up, we have Juanci Gentleman Eau de Parfum Boisé. So what I like about this is they're utilizing that original DNA and some of that iris, but then you're getting some sandalwood in here, some cacao, so kind of a chocolatey, creamy, powdery smell on top of all of that. But it also isn't as sweet as the regular Eau de Parfum or Eau de Parfum Reserve Privé, or you go over to like the Gentleman Absolute, you know, very kind of spice bomb smelling. It's not like that. This is kind of like a middle ground. You know, it's a little bit fresher, but also it's not as fresh as something like the Eau de Toilette Intense or the Eau de Toilette 2017. So no matter what you're after, I think the Gentleman line will have something for you. I mean, if you just want something that is really citrusy and summery, you could go for Gentleman Cologne, which is a little bit harder to find now, but it was an option at one point. Again, Gentleman 2017, another fresher one with pear. So there's a lot of options. I would definitely recommend checking this one out. You could still wear this one here as kind of winter is coming to an end. And honestly, this one would work good in the early stages of spring as well, when you have those cooler mornings and then it kind of warms up to a somewhat warm afternoon and then it goes back down to cold. This one has just enough freshness to where it would hold up. Let's go over to something that is every bit of $35 or so. Lacoste L'Homme Intense. This one has a lot of rhubarb, citruses, musk, very fresh, creamy, orangey, and personally is a super unique scent, at least in my opinion. There's also the original Lacoste L'Homme. Both are great, and you know, I think both are kind of worth owning in their own right. Truly, the Intense version is more intense and it is stronger, but there are times where I also will wear the original as well, even though I have the Intense. It just depends on what I'm after. The original is a little bit lighter, a little bit more kind of effervescent and creamy from the orange. This one just has a little bit more strength and power behind it. If you're after performance, definitely go for the Intense. And again, they're roughly about the same price, so it's not like this one is a ton more expensive either. It just depends on what you're after. But I do think that this DNA itself is something that does stand out and will kind of set you apart from the crowd when everybody else is wearing Nautica Voyage and, you know, Versace Eau Fresh and things like that. This is something a bit different. Next up, we have Aaro Chrome Extreme. This stuff is kind of similar to Aqua Deo Profondo, and so I wanted to go ahead and throw it in just to give you kind of an affordable alternative. You're looking at about half the price or a little bit less than half the price. I think this is usually around $40 on discounters, and you know, it depends on if you're talking price per milliliter. This one is considerably more affordable, or if you're just talking all-in money, because you know, Profondo comes in like, I think it's 75, and then it goes up to a 125, and then a 200 mil, whereas this is kind of a 50, 100. So, you know, just depends on kind of how you're doing the calculations here, but no matter what way you cut it, this one's always going to be a lot more affordable. And so if you are on a budget and you're wanting to build up some more affordable summer scents for this year, Chrome Extreme would be a great option if you didn't want to spend the money on Profondo. So I just wanted to toss this one in as well. There are some minor differences as well, mostly being that Chrome Extreme doesn't have the same amount of mineral notes, kind of like Profondo does. But other than that, they are very similar. And they also came out within the same year, within, I believe, like months of each other. Like the releases on the both of these were very close, so it's kind of interesting to see how that played out. Next up, we have Y Eau de Parfum Intense. I love everything about this release. It is so good, and I like it because they take out the sweet apple. And it's not that I don't like that about Y Eau de Parfum, Le Parfum, because I do, but there are also times, especially when it's warmer out, where it's a bit too much, and I might want something different. Normally, if it was like a 90-degree day, I just wouldn't wear Y Eau de Parfum. That would be hot enough to where it would drive me to put on something else. Even if I was really in the mood to wear it, I would probably choose something else. Okay, 80-degree days and such, I can pull it off still. Now, having Y Eau de Parfum Intense, when it's really, really scorching hot outside, I could still pull something off like this because it just removes that sweetness. It focuses big time on the aromatics. And that's what I love about it. It is so easy to wear. Everybody around you is going to love how this smells. It's $104, $105 on discounters. Prices come down a lot compared to retail. Worth picking up 100%. Now this next one here is easy to hate on. In fact, this whole brand, this whole designer brand in terms of their fragrances are easy to hate on as well. And I've had this for a long time. It's been hyped up for sure. And I think a lot of people just hate on it because of the fact that it's associated with this brand. And, you know, most of the times you don't hear people say, hey, I wonder when Diesel is going to release a new fragrance, right? They're not like YSL and Armani and, you know, Dior and Chanel where people are, you know, anticipating that new release. But I got to give credit where credit's due. Diesel Fuel for Life is one that I really like. They've got a few flankers as well. I don't have any of them because they're all pretty much discontinued. Like there was a Fuel for Life Spirit, I think it was. Maybe it's that one that has a cool bottle, or it might be a different one, but there's a few that look really interesting that are just way too expensive on eBay, more than I'm willing to spend, but they look pretty neat. This is one you could still get anywhere. I'm sure Walmart carries Fuel for Life at this point, so it's super easy to get. Has raspberry, woody notes, lavender. The stuff, it smells good. It's a little bit fruity, very aromatic, fresh, clean. It doesn't really have like a rough, leathery, overly masculine smell like you might think just by looking at the bottle and the name and things like that. There's actually a bit of a light freshness and kind of softness to this one that, again, might not be something that looks that way, but it is. So I think it does have a lot of usability, a lot of utility. It's not all that expensive. Sub $40, and it's one you could wear for anything. Next up, we have Versace Dylan Blue, the big old 200 ml. I've said this before, guys, but if you're planning on wearing this as your everyday scent, or at least, you know, multiple times a week, it costs maybe $25 more to get the 200 ml versus the 100 ml. And I mean, think about it. That's double the amount for half the price of the 100 ml standard, roughly. So great deal that way. A lot of people will never go through all of this. I will never go through this entire 200 ml, especially because I have a couple 100 mils. But at a price like that, it's kind of hard to pass up. This stuff is great, you know, affordable, strong, absolutely beast mode. Has some incense, patchouli, and then some bergamot, ambroxan, C notes. This is just a blue scent with mega performance, and it's one of the more affordable ones out there. People are going to say it's played out and it's overhyped and too many people wear it, but I don't find that to be true. I can guarantee if you were to wear this one out, people are still going to think you smell great. And last up, we have Dior Homme Original or Dior Homme 2011. Basically, Dior Homme with Iris is kind of what I'm talking about, not Dior Homme 2020. People might say, oh, just get the Intense, get the Parfum. The original Dior Homme with Iris is, you know, maybe not all that good or exciting, and there's better things out there. Personally, I think this one still has, you know, a place in your collection, in the community. It's where it all started, first of all, but even beyond that side of things, it's still just super wearable. You know, it's not as fresh as something like Prada L'Homme or Dior Homme Eau, but it also isn't as sweet as Valentino Uomo Intense, Gentleman Eau de Parfum, Dior Homme Intense, of course, Dior Homme Parfum. This one has a really, really good middle ground that I think offers a lot of value. It can be hard to find, you know, this type of thing. Dior Homme Original is not always in stock. If you jump on my mailing list and texting list at the link and number down below, anytime something rare, discontinued, hard to find, like this, or Aqua Deo Profumo, Armani code Absolute, Armani code Profumo, rare things like that, when they come in stock, I do send out a notification, so make sure you jump on there. I'll have all these other fragrances linked down below to discounters as well so you can pick them up. But that's going to do it for me. In my opinion, these aren't really overhyped. I think they're still worth checking out, still worth adding to your collection. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.